Hey, Scorekeepers, it's your old friend Rocky. I'm here at the top of the show with some, I don't know, I guess less than ideal news. We were recording the show last Friday and we were having such a great time that we didn't notice, or I didn't notice until I went to edit this, that something funky is happening, or was happening rather, with the connection between my microphone and my computer. So there are some moments in the show where the audio is not exactly giving what it is supposed to have gave. But I hope you all will bear with us. When those moments occur, because we really, really, really love this show, and we really this episode in particular, and are really excited to share it all with you. So sorry about that, but we will do better next time, and I hope, in spite of me sounding like a robot here and there, that you all enjoy the show. Okay, love you. Bye. Hello, all my beautiful score babies out there in score world. I don't know. We need to think of something else. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
What do y'all want to be called?
Well,
Let us
scorekeepers.
know.
I mean, scorekeepers. It's always been scorekeepers. But do you like scorekeepers? Do you want to be scorekeepers? Anyway, whatever. This is the score. Hello, welcome to it. This is your favorite podcast about the arts and culture, as seen through our Black queer lenses. As always, I am your co-host, Rocky Jones, and I am here with my two fabulous co-hosts. First and well, I always want to say first and foremost, but it's not foremost because you both are equally foremost. It's just the alliterativeness, I guess, of it. Um, First, our amazing, beautiful, incredible, talented, smart, and moisturized Paige Reynolds. Hello, Paige Reynolds. How are you?
Hello. Hello, world. I am wonderful since look at what I found at the thrift store yesterday. I mean, y'all listening can't see it.
Oh,
For
who
y'all
would
who cannot see it, I found this wonderful Aaliyah t-shirt.
crop
It,
top?
it's a cropped t-shirt with the baby girl Aaliyah on it.
I love it.
I
I love it. That is so,
listen,
why would you
them
why
little
would you do that to the thrift store?
hello. These little Gen Zers didn't know what they had been passing up.
Hmm.
So many people, it's a
Hmm.
popular thrift store too. And it was just hanging there.
Hmm.
It was just hanging there. It wasn't even like the featured section up front. I would think this would be a hot item, you know?
Like in a
Something.
frame.
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm great. Yeah, that's my update.
Okay. I was scrolling again. I think I'm one of the last people still on Twitter. I was scrolling the other day and the Rock the Boat video, just somebody just posted it, and I just was getting my whole life. I love that song so much.
So much.
So
Such
much.
a such a bop.
Rest in peace. But that
Mm.
other voice that you heard was our incredible, wonderful, indomitable, spirited Dr. Lee Bynum. Hello, Dr. Lee Bynum. How are you today?
You gave Paige more adjectives than you
Okay,
gave me.
okay.
Two more, please.
Two
Make them
more.
good.
Intelligent.
Hmm.
Oh, you know what my friends do? My friends back home.
Hmm.
They take people's first names and they give
Hmm.
them an adjective
Hmm.
for every letter in their
You
name.
know, I only have three letters in my name.
Well, four in your government name.
In my, are you dead? Are you literally dead naming? Wow.
No, okay,
Wow.
okay.
Trump gets in office and people get brand spanking new.
Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm
Mhm,
sorry.
mhm,
I apologize.
mhm.
Okay, fine. Two more adjectives.
Thank you. Anything, I mean, literally, all this to give somebody an adjective is like pulling teeth with y'all.
Well, I already said intelligent.
Hmm.
Incredibly good looking.
Y'all see what I had to go through
Beautiful
just for the
hair.
teensiest little compliment. Just the
What?
teensiest little compliment. And we had to go through all this rigmarole, bringing people's government names on air. You know, I'm worried about my citizenship status. So if I'm not here in 2 weeks, y'all will know why, but it'll be good
Oh,
to have Frankie
Lord.
back.
I can't do anything right.
Listen, you let a little
Hello,
bit of cis
Cambodia.
representation onto the show and see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, we might see you in Cambodia in a couple weeks.
I know that's right. How'd y'all like
Willingly.
y'all Liberation Day yesterday?
Oh my
Did you have as
God.
much fun as I did?
Do you feel liberated?
I feel like I was smart to move some things around in my portfolio. That's what I feel like because I knew where this was going. And unlike some of y'all, I am not going to wait around for Elon Musk to tell me what my fate is. I'm like, I'm moving some money. I'm gonna look overseas at what some of this property is doing, and I am making a plan for the future.
Well, good for you.
And not on Mars.
Yeah. If well, I mean, I suppose I have a retirement plan, but other than that, I don't really have much in the way of a portfolio. But I do like not paying, $1 million for a pair of Nikes. But I guess that era is over.
My friend yesterday, we were texting about something, and she is in the process of buying a car, and she was like, "Should I not? Should I hold off? Should?" And I was like, friend, as a person who hasn't driven since 1999, I actually A, don't know what to tell you, and B, have no idea what cars cost. But this really might be a great time not to, because it really seems like tomfoolery's in the air.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I got.
All the moves where we're thinking twice. Y'all referred to something yesterday. Did I miss a new development already? Did
Yeah,
I?
a new
Oh
development,
Lord.
an old one, a tired one. It was
Of course.
yesterday, was it 195 countries we issue tariffs against? Um,
Oh, okay.
195. I mean, it's not
Including an island in Antarctica where there are no humans, just
right.
penguins.
Cool,
Right.
cool, 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 cool. Okay.
Hmm. Although,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, Russia, there were no tariffs against them. I don't know why there weren't. I don't know what I'm supposed to
Can't
read into
imagine.
that. Hmm.
Can't
Interesting.
imagine what that's about.
Right. Right.
Well, at
So,
least the borscht will be cheap.
oh my God. No, none of us were sitting here thinking about waiting in line for toilet paper. And when we were growing up in the 80s, Paige, one of the like recurring jokes that would be like on sitcoms was like how everybody in the USSR was constantly in line for toilet paper. I don't even know what the antecedent is, but that is like hit me so many times in the last, 24 hours that our fate in this country could really be something very complicated. I have two siblings who work for major corporations in supply chain leadership roles who
Oof.
have
Oh my
been
gosh.
warning, issuing all kinds of warnings about what we're not going to have access to coming up. Part of me wants to announce it on the show, and part of me doesn't until I get mine. But either way, we should all be prepared for goods to be
Well,
gone.
can you tell the two of us off
Mm.
air? I'm so sorry about that government name joke. I love you. I love you so much.
I will spend the next hour of recording considering what I feel like sharing. I'm in a very Aquarian mood today.
You
Mhm.
are.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
tell.
Rare form. Just let me know if I need to figure out how to fit a deep freezer in this little studio. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Just let me know.
The short answer is absolutely. You better get you a little deep freezer and anything else
Word.
you think that you want in the way of electronics.
Hmm.
You like using a phone? You better work it out in the next couple of days.
Mm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mhm. Right? Right?
Yeah.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm, mm.
Well, and that deep
Well,
freeze is electronic, so you might want to get that in, the next couple of hours. Get Uber Eats a deep freeze over to your house.
Unless, of course, you live in the part of the country where your electricity comes from Canada, in which case you might want to consider, I don't know, some Flint. I have no idea.
mhm.
We've been using electricity and indoor plumbing for the entirety of my life, so I'm not exactly sure where this is going to go when Canada cuts us off, but
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
Or raises prices too. Okay, you know what? This is getting
It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot.
this is okay. Let's
Make your safety
more
plans. We're moving on.
yes. Make your go bag, do what you need to do. Get that life straw, those MREs that have been sitting in your Amazon cart for the last 5 years. But this is the score. We are here to talk about uh beautiful things that are related to arts and culture. And to that point, Dr. Bynum, uh
Mhm.
you I'm I are we ready to announce this fabulous news that you have
Oh,
that has been
oh,
all over the
I
press
I was going to make it
lately?
my PB&J since it's I guess the J-est thing that's happening in my PB, but we can make it now as well. Yeah, I guess we can talk about
Well,
it.
why don't you tell the people who perhaps have not
Who live
picked
under
up
a rock.
a newspaper or scrolled through their social media in the last couple of days what is going on?
Well, everybody, I got a new job.
Yay!
Yay! After a long period of debating if I cared to work ever again, I did end up getting a wonderful new job as the first ever executive director of Maestra Music. Maestra Music is an organization that is completely focused on expanding the professional opportunities in the theater for women and non-binary people who work in music. So these would be the non-performance roles, pit orchestra, music supervisor, music director, arrangers, orchestrators, composers, all of those critically important roles that really influence how we hear musical theater. We do not hear musical theater without people doing the music part. And if you see the statistics, there's really still gross underrepresentation for women and for non-binary people in ways that absolutely parallel what you see in classical music, and obviously a lot of the work that Paige and Rocky and I did when we were together at Minnesota Opera, which is where we met, by the way, but that's another story. But back to this story. So super excited to be joining right now. In the years since Maestra has existed, it's made a really considerable shift in the participation of women and non-binary people in the pits of Broadway musicals, and we are really attentive to doing this work all over the country, not just on Broadway, although Broadway, we will never stop agitating for demographic representation. But we are super excited about the possibilities. We had a wonderful event on Monday night. It's called Amplify, which was a concert celebrating all of the shows on Broadway that are written by women and or non-binary people. Had a really fantastic concert. Got to see some of Broadway's great performers, including Jordan Fisher and Sarah Bareilles. Really got to meet a lot of very lovely people. It was a kind of a crazy thing on my first day going to our gala.
Hmm.
But glad the gala's behind me as opposed to sitting over my head.
No, and you have a whole year to plan the
I
next
have a
one.
whole year
Right.
to get ready.
365.
Cool. Hmm.
But it was also great that like there were that many people there that I got to meet on my first day. And I went with dear friend of the show, Brian McQueen,
Oh,
Oh,
America's
that's
yay.
favorite
right.
non-binary bass. And I'll share this story really, really briefly because Brian is such a great friend. When I saw the job posted, I was super interested in it, but I remember thinking the organization was unlikely to hire a person who was not a cisgender woman. And that was just kind of my own read on this kind of thing from any number of reasons having to do with my own lived experience. And I was sharing it with Brian, who put on an album by a composer named Georgia Stitt. Georgia is the person who founded Maestra, and Brian and I both are fans of her music. And in that moment, they put on Georgia and said, "Well, tell me why you don't think that we have a place leading this organization that has an articulated mission to support us in the space." And I was like, oh, I guess when you put it like that,
Mm,
maybe I do think we
mm,
have a
hmm.
place, and realize what I should be doing was letting the organization make the decision around whether or not they wanted to hire me. So really glad they did. Very thankful to Georgia and Laura Ivy, our board chair, and everybody else affiliated with the organization. Certainly to Brian and uh, especially to Damien, my husband, for those of you who may be new to the show, for the encouragement and support during the process. And also to you two, frickin' frack, who have been really, really lovely through the entirety of my job search process, and also the previous job search process that took us to Lincoln Center. You have been lovely, lovely friends and colleagues through all of my professional shifts. Hopefully, there won't be too many others. Some of us are ready to retire soon, but very, very excited about this
Girl.
current opportunity. Sorry, 2025 has just been a really, really, really long decade.
Yes, it
So,
has.
yeah.
It has. Well, first of all, we love you so
Oh,
much.
So,
I
so
love you
much.
right back.
So proud of
And
you.
so
Oh,
proud of
thank
you.
you.
And congratulations. And like I said on Instagram, it's just been such a long road. And we've been, watching you, you know, walk down it and twist and turn and all of the things, but for all of it to end up here exactly where you're supposed to be doing the work that it feels like that you are meant to be doing.
Oh,
It's so just beautiful to see somebody that you love just sort of walk into the space that was meant for them. So congratulations. It's amazing.
thank you. I definitely appreciate that. And rice.
Rice.
Stock up on rice.
Lee.
I decided I would tell you, stock up on rice.
Okay.
Okay, okay. All right. So
Yep,
that
yep,
is
yep.
your way of showing love to us.
Yes, and
Okay.
You
Okay.
should
Received.
accept my
And I
love
receive
language.
I receive that. I receive
I received that. I will go get a big
that.
bag today. Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Well, you bring up an interesting point, which is that there are probably, due to your news and it being all over the place, that there might
Uh-huh.
be a few new listeners who do not know who we are from A Hole in the Ground. So it might behoove us to introduce ourselves and the show a little bit. So I don't know who wants to go first. Paige, you want to go first?
Oh, I've been voluntold, so
Well, no,
sure.
you don't have to. You don't have to. I can go first. That's fine.
How about you model for us?
Sure. All right. Well,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Well, as you all probably know by now, this is the score. It's hosted by the three of us, and the three of us, we have been knowing each other for a very long time. At this point, Paige and I
Yeah.
first met in what, 2018,
Ooh, child.
2019,
2018.
2018.
Damn.
Yes. Crazy. And we were both on the marketing team at Minnesota Opera in
Uh-huh.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, which two blizzards this week, two snowstorms this week. It's
Wait,
April.
what?
Beautiful spring here
Oh.
Yeah.
in Minnesota. Yeah, yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah, yep, yep,
Lovely.
yep. But at the same time that we were there, Minnesota Opera was doing a lot of work in when it came to diversity and equity and inclusion. Um, and we both have some experience in that area as
Hmm.
Black people and queer people.
Might know a little something, you
Might know a
know.
little bit something. So we we raised our hands and said, can we express some of our opinions? And really sort of ended up leading that work at the organization eventually. And as a result of a lot of that work, that really sort of catapulted Minnesota Opera into the forefront of DEI work, especially
Mhm.
in American opera and classical music. As a result of all of that, a new department was formed. I moved into the role of EDI director. Paige was our access and community engagement manager.
Mhm.
And we
Civic
needed
engagement.
civic engagement manager, excuse me. Wait, what did I say? Community engagement? Civic
Community
engagement.
engagement.
Civic
Yes.
You
engagement.
were
Yes.
close.
I was close. I was close. Um, but we needed a brilliant person to come and lead this department, because also there were um, lots and lots of education programs that needed to be administered and rethought and built from the ground up. And so that is when we put out the call, and when the incredible Dr. Lee Bynum uh, pulled up their stakes and moved halfway across the country from New York City to Minneapolis to come and join us. And the three of us immediately just had a key.
We sure
um,
did.
Yes.
established a rapport very, very quickly. Because, I I can't think of another American opera company or classical music institution where there were three dark-skinned black queer folks in decision-making positions whose jobs were actually to walk into these rooms and tell these white people what for. And so we all just immediately bonded. And when the pandemic hit and we were all working from home and all of our performances were canceled and we couldn't do our education programs and all the the civics we were engaging were in the citizens we were trying to engage were in their homes. um, Paige came up with the brilliant idea to start a podcast about our experiences working in classical music, and that became the score. And so here we are, 4 years later. We're still together. We haven't murdered each other, but mostly because we, for much of the time, lived in different cities. But we've been on all sorts of adventures. We ended up
You
doing
really
the
have.
score at Minnesota Opera for 2 years, I believe.
Hmm.
Sounds right.
And we ended up talking to, I mean, building a community that was, I mean, staggering. I think when we
Yeah.
first started speaking into the void, we had no idea what would happen. But we built this community and eventually had got to speak to some of the most incredible people, Denise Graves, Lawrence Brownlee, Monet Exchange, uh, good Lord, but also like a ton of, local artists here in Minnesota and up and coming artists that we got to put everyone on to. But also have really important conversations about what's happening in the culture, what's happening in, our industry, and always, ending the show, whatever we were doing, with a moment of pure Black joy, so that we could always leave with a nice big deep breath and a little bit of hope. And so that's always been sort of our ethos. We have the hard conversations, but we leave with a little bit of hope and cheer for everyone. So we did, after Lee decided to make the move away from Minnesota Opera, we did a show for 6 months at Lincoln Center called Art Class, which you can go and find on the Art Class feed, which is a different feed. So, you can go look that up. I think it's still on Lincoln Center's website. But that was an even bigger show that I think all three of us we're really proud of, even though, there's a little, but
Definitely.
for the most part, it was a really exciting experience. We got to do two live shows on stage at Lincoln Center, which was incredible. We got to talk to Nona Hendrix and Big Frida and Bob the Drag Queen and Stephanie Dinkins and all sorts of incredible. I got to talk to Hilton Alls about James Baldwin. Just all these really, really like awesome conversations, and we really were able to just open up our viewpoint, and not just focus on opera and classical music, but to really focus on the arts as a whole and thinking about how the arts and arts education really can transform us, transform our communities, and to be able to have these conversations with these incredible luminaries and big thinkers and brilliant, incredible artists was a just the thrill of a lifetime. But that ended, and we were sitting around last summer, and we were thinking about what the next step for us was, and we didn't want to break up our little family, and we've just gotten into the habit of having a conversation with each other every week. And so we thought, well, why don't we come on home? And so we fired up the Score RSS feed last October, and we decided to continue to have these broad conversations about the arts and culture in general, and to really start to think about like what are the things that we want to do and we want to focus on. And we're all big pop culture aficionados, and so we thought, well, why don't we do some TV recaps? Why don't we, start talking more about politics and how that intersects with art. Um, and here we are. Now we're just sort of enjoying our time together, doing what we want to do, doing things on our own terms. We are independently owned. So, if you want to throw us a little Venmo or something, that would be fantastic. But also, just subscribing and telling your friends and leaving reviews is enough. But yeah, I mean, I think that's our story. I feel like I've been talking for 15 minutes. I'm so sorry.
We
But
have
you
a
told the
long
story
history.
so well.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Exactly.
thank you. Thank you. I do my best.
Your best is wonderful. Yeah, we do have a long history, but you summed it up so elegantly.
And it was our fourth anniversary like a month ago, and we didn't even mark the occasion
Spice,
in any
wow.
way.
Well, let's mark it now. Happy
Yes, happy
anniversary.
Yeah,
anniversary.
happy
4
anniversary.
years in a
It's our
month.
anniversary.
Hey. Oh, shout to Dwayne Wiggins. It just reminded me. He
Yeah.
passed last month from
Oh,
Tony, and I had meant
yes.
to say something about that on the show, and I think I ended up getting distracted by something else.
Well,
Yeah.
it was also like a week where just like three other like Black
Yeah.
musicians passed.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah.
was a lot. I
It
see
was
how
a
you
lot.
forgot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I am grateful that especially after art class, we saw that ending as really an opportunity
Yeah.
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
us to just like continue to us for us to evolve um and do something independent. I just want to reiterate that we are independent, which also means self-funded. So if
Hmm.
you feel so moved, you know that this is the this is the pass the hat moment. This is the pass the hat moment right here. Is your opportunity to, put five on it. Okay. So I'm really proud of us for doing this. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
like it's been just beautiful to go through all these different forms of doing the show with y'all and watch us each grow as people. And now to be independent at this point, I feel like we can tell like even more of our story and incorporate more of who we are as people. I'm so proud of what we did in both places, at Minnesota Opera, at Lincoln Center, like so proud of us. I don't
Hmm.
uh I know, at least for me in the moment, I didn't maybe fully realize what what we were doing. I was just like, okay, going along with it, making a show with these friends and colleagues. Yeah, love talking to. But now looking back, I'm like, wow, yeah, we did that.
We sure
Continue to
did.
do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
We did, and I absolutely concur. And I have been really excited about so much of the programming we've been able to do. On each show, there have been programming dreams that have come true in terms
Yes.
of either who we got to talk to or what we got to talk about. And I will say being independent has been even better, because so much of like the decision, the fact that we could have 6 weeks of Noah's Ark to me is a bit of a triumph, right? Like
Hmm.
I am a person who talks a lot about the lack of content for Black queer creators and people who are interested in things that Black queer people create. There isn't always, substantive conversation around certain kinds of artistic pieces. And I think especially with like film and TV and music, things that are on stages, I think still get a different kind of conversation and frequently from scholars. But I find myself like looking sometimes to see what thoughtful queer Black people have to say about certain things that I'm watching or certain things that I just listened to. And the fact that we can now occupy some of that space is super exciting to me. The programming decision we made around what we are going to do an episode by episode recap of next is kind of a dream for me because I do it so frequently in my free time. So like being able to do it here in this context is it's just fun and it's just exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's I often, as again, love what we've accomplished. You all have gone from coworkers and friends to people I really do consider family. Um, but it's funny because, I loved what we did in the past couple of iterations. Um, But what's really opened my eyes in this iteration is, I always say at the beginning of the show, we're looking at arts and culture through our Black queer lenses, but I feel like for the first time, every single episode, we get to look at our art and our culture as Black queer people through our Black queer lenses. Whereas before we were, sometimes we would get to do that, but a lot of the times, we were sort of beholden to the whims, the needs of the organization that we were working for, which was fine.
Mhm.
But this is just it's an opportunity to really kind of spread our wings uh and create in a different way that feels a lot more personal and fulfilling. So that's exciting to me.
Yeah, this does feel more fulfilling. And at the same time, I remind myself that in those other iterations, even if it maybe didn't feel as much like we were presenting things fully through a Black queer lens, it still kind of is because it would be made by us.
Yes,
Exactly.
precisely,
You know,
precisely.
just because
Mhm.
we were at these, institutions didn't mean someone else was making the content. It was still all us. So,
And I am
no.
still at one of those institutions, so.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But we
Yes.
won't.
Still doing the work.
Mhm.
Yes, but
Rocky is the architect. Truly,
Absolutely.
I
truly.
I do
Yeah,
my best. It's a shaky foundation right now, but
yeah. My only critique of your storytelling was like, oh, he's being so humble. If you won't toot your horn, I will. Beep beep, toot toot. Rocky is the architect of the EDI program at Minnesota Opera.
Which is a
There, I said it.
template for how EDI can and should be done at performing arts organizations. Like it's a thing that should be taught
Period.
and studied.
Oh,
Period.
well, thank you. I'm gonna take that little snippet and put it on my social media, I guess. No, but thank you.
Yeah.
That's very sweet, you all.
And
I
it's
do
the
what I can.
truth.
I do what I can. I can. But I mean, I guess that's the history of the show, but perhaps we should just talk about a little bit about ourselves as humans.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dr. Lee Bynum, who are you?
It's a fair and evergreen question, truly. But I am a New Yorker. I think that might be the most explicit and accurate version of what I do and who I am. Um, I am a New Yorker. I am a married New Yorker who works in the arts and splits their time between a fair amount of artistic creation and artistic advocacy. And the older I get, the more I want to be more in those spaces. Like I spent a really long part of my career first as a researcher and then as an administrator. And now I want really to focus a lot more on executing my own ideas rather than being in that sort of place of supporting other people exclusively. I feel like spending the first 20 years of my career very much focused on how to support other people's artistic endeavors just got me very interested and gave me some skills around doing that for myself. Um, and then outside of that, I spend a lot of time with my family and my friends, typically doing absolutely nothing. I I really like just spending time talking to people about stuff, what they're experiencing, what they're seeing, what they would like to be experiencing, and then I frequently come back and write about those kinds of things. Like those kinds of conversations inspire my personal artistic work a lot. The thing that's been inspiring it more recently has been the unfortunate passing of my cat.
Hmm.
Her name was McGonagall, named after Dame Maggie Smith's character in the Harry Potter movies. Yes, I do know that Joanne Rowling is a raging transphobe, and I have no love for her. That naming of my cat was about my love for Maggie Smith, period.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Um, I will say a few things about my cat because I miss her terribly, and this is an opportunity to give her a little bit of a tribute. She lived with us for 15 years. She was a rescue cat, and in that time, I have never met a being that was as loyal and honest and funny and practical as my cat. She really did get it. She was an excellent judge of character. Um, Maybe her palette could have been a little bit more sophisticated, but she also was an excellent judge of film and television. We watched everything together. We wrote together, we wrote a whole dissertation together. I had so many conversations with her about so many things. My husband and I both travel a lot for work. So I had a lot of time by myself with McGonagall, and she was a constant companion, and also as a childless couple. She never appeared like our kid. Like I never ever got that impression, but she definitely was a part of our family. She was a companion and I, I, I don't know how to say this in a way that may make sense for people who have never been close with an animal. But when I tell you that caring for her for 15 years did so much for my emotional intelligence. Like that
Mhm.
is in no way an exaggeration. I learned so much about nonverbal communication, how to observe, how to be there for someone silently, how to just to exist in space with someone in good times and in bad. And I am a better person for having had her. And I hope that she enjoyed her time with us because we certainly enjoyed it with her, and she is very, very missed. It's only been a week, and I've
Hmm.
thought about nothing else this past week. Um, Outside of my relationship with my cat, I mentioned I'm close with my family and super excited that my brother and his wife and their baby have moved back. They've moved back to New York, so now I get to spend lots of time with my 2-year-old nephew who they'd been living in London, and now that he's back is completely verbal. And that's wild how that has happened.
Does he have an
Um,
accent?
no, I was kind of expecting a little bit of, hello, governor, when he got here, but it wasn't quite that. But boy, was it clear as a bell, and he was over here counting and knowing colors and
Yeah.
correctly identifying a triceratops.
Oh.
Oh,
It
yeah.
and so glad that he met McGonagall the day before she passed, which was actually a really, really lovely thing. Initially, they were absolutely terrified of each other, but after about an hour and a half, they became the best of friends.
Hmm.
And, when he was leaving, he said, "Bye, cat, I love you." And I thought that was really cute.
Hmm.
Oh,
So, yeah, in a nutshell, that's who I am. I'm a cat lover, people lover, art maker, um, and a triple Aquarian for those of you who haven't quite picked up on that.
Woo.
And I should apologize to everybody who has picked up on it and has to deal with it in their life because I'm sure it's a lot. It's a lot for me.
Well, I just want to. I'm so sorry about McGonagall,
Thank
and
you.
rest in peace.
Thank you.
As
Yeah.
a fellow cat parent, um, I know exactly what you're talking about when you talk about your EQ getting higher. Um, because she is, I always call my cat's name is Delilah, and I always call her my soulmate cat. And especially since the pandemic, since I've gotten to work from home most days of the week, we have developed an even closer bond, and I feel like we just sort of have that nonverbal
Mhm.
thing, and she's just become the light of my life. I mean, yes, my husband. But yeah, it's incredible the bond that you can create with these. And I always just marvel at, like, she's like 11 pounds, but she just has so much power and
Mhm.
presence. She walks into a room and, like, the room changes, the vibration, the
Yes.
energy in the room changes, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's amazing how animals are such an incredible mirror to our own humanity, right? And I think the pieces of how you can judge like a person's character by how they interact with animals also to me is a thing that I've noticed a lot as an adult,
100%.
right?
Absolutely. Someone who's had pets for most of my life, half of my life, always had an animal companion or lived
Mhm.
with somebody else's. I totally get it. They are like a full member of your family, of your community, even
Mhm.
too, because other people meet, your pets, and it's like you say, Rocky, like they are even the word I'll be looking for. I like the word companion. I like using that word companion because pet doesn't even feel like doesn't feel correct. It doesn't like honor what they actually are in your life. But like Rocky was saying, they have, you know, a full presence, a full personality, and absolutely teach me that like we are in this world with non-human beings and we are very connected to them.
Hmm.
And how I think how people relate to animals absolutely reflects how they relate to that concept of just their interconnectedness with the rest of the world, and their ability to move with empathy and compassion through the rest of the world, how they see other beings as something to just like move around or control, or as beings with their own autonomy and who deserve like care and patience like everybody else. So absolutely. They teach us so much. And yeah, I hope your new ancestor, furry ancestor is up there with all of the seafood or whatever her preference was,
Hmm.
in the exact texture that she likes, and all in temperature, because I know how cats can be, especially.
Who are you telling?
Hmm. Oh
Thank
God,
you.
that just made me think, like, oh God, her food's probably gonna get even more expensive because she won't eat like the Purina.
Oh
We
God.
Mhm.
have to go to the Chuck and
Mhm.
Don's and get the special food. God.
Mine
I'll
too.
But we'll
I'll
do
check with
it.
my
But we're gonna
secret
do
contacts about
it.
what's happening with these pet food prices because maybe they know about that too.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming it's gonna go up.
Oh, I mean, I'm assuming
I
it
mean,
too.
if I was already getting the fancy Chuck and Don's American made, organic, grain free, whatever, isn't that like made here anyway? Or is it just
I don't know.
all
I
of
guess
the
I should go look at the can and just find out. But yeah, no, like she got used to that. I went and I got like, we were running out. So I just was like, oh, I need to just pick up a couple of cans. I went to the Whole Foods and got the organic one from there. No, none. Having none of it. None of it.
Mm-mm. She's like, I can
Hmm.
tell this is a different recipe. It's a
No,
different recipe. I don't want
absolutely not.
And not the one she told you to get, because that
it.
Absolutely
is
Mm-hmm.
not.
a very real part of being a person who lives with a cat. You have to understand they have preferences and personalities and things that they will and will not do. And just because you have a priority on a given day has nothing to do with what's going on with them. Um, so.
And then after all of that, she'll get herself stuck in a closet. And I'm like, and you and you're my boss? Okay. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Ay, ay, ay. But Paige Reynolds, who are you?
Ooh, who am I? Who am I today? We'll start there. Oh gosh, I am a gender bending baddie, first of all. I need to bring that tagline back. I am a artist, a birth worker, which often means being a death worker as well, honestly, because it's all one and the same. Um, in some places I say that like I'm kind of obsessed with thinking about both birth and death, or just the transformations and transitions and ancestors and what it means to be an ancestor, how I can be a good ancestor, um, even while living, even while being here, setting myself up to be a good ancestor to the people who come before me or come after me. Um, I am from Detroit, very proud of that. I wrote that down. And I think as I get older and as I have traveled more, especially, I think I've come to appreciate like Midwest blackness, especially. And so I proudly rep it. I will proudly tell folks where I am from, and I guess maybe even so kind of proud to still live in the Midwest right now. Like, I don't know. There's a way that I just get this place. And I also feel very connected to maybe some of the reasons my ancestors decided to stay up here too. Um, yeah. So I live in Minneapolis right now. Across the river from Rocky over in St. Paul.
Hmm.
Um, and I have had like kind of a journey professionally. I was thinking about that as we were talking about Minnesota Opera and these iterations of the score. I started out with arts administration. I've been in some form of the arts all my life. I can say that too, whether it was choir or theater. I actually knew it like for maybe like somewhere around there, that age, that I would do theater. And like I just knew it from that age. My older sister, she was in the drama club at our local high school, the same one I would then go to 10 years later. And I remember seeing her as one of the stepsisters in Cinderella. And yes, and we went on I think this Cinderella, I found out later when I was older, was double cast, but we made sure we went on the night with the Black Cinderella. So between the Black Cinderella, the real horse that they brought on
Oh
stage
my
to
goodness.
bring out her carriage, yes, it's not because the high school was rich. It's because it was rural. It's because we knew people
Oh,
had horses.
okay.
That's why.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's because there were cornfields that were across from it. It's gentrified now. It's not as it's quite as rural looking, but
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I know. I could see. I was like, what kind of high school did you go to? What was the population and budget? No, not wealthy. But from that moment, I said, I'm gonna do drama club when I'm in high school as well. I'm gonna do theater. And I like just went through all my schooling with that intention. I'm gonna do art. I'm gonna do art stuff. Art was always my favorite section of anything. But that eventually led me to like majoring in arts administration while I was at Howard University. Woo woo, HU, you
You
know.
know.
I really I think I've also my appreciation has also grown for HBCUs more than ever, especially in these days and times, understanding the value of education and Black centered education. Again, it's one of those things where like as I see more of the world, I see just like the blessing of having that lens. So I'm really proud to be an artist and arts administrator and appreciator of the arts who was also nurtured by Black artists specifically. Um, yeah, that just like means a lot, and there's such a legacy there. And I think what I observe is that like Black artists who also get to be an intergenerational community with other Black artists have a different kind of sense of community to what they make, a different sense of um impact and like connectedness to something outside themselves. um I think is also just like the pride in Blackness as well, and seeing it as being enough. uh and there's just a way that like we nurture each other as people whole people. So I try to bring that to everything that I do, and to, you know, remember the people who come before us, and um that whole, you know, Ubuntu, I am, because we are. And I very much feel that within queerness as well, queerness and transness. Um, that being like we just make each other possible. Like I so much of the experience of being queer and trans is like, yes, also like getting to make yourself, and you know, getting to question the norms that you were given, but it's also like there's a way that we're in community and make each other, you know. um so that's something that I've been thinking about lately, and how much that's a part of what I do also as a birth worker. And you know, there that's something that's such a hands-on kind of teaching thing. Like somebody has to show you how to do it. There's definitely parts that are intuitive, but it happens in community. um so, you know, I do direct support with people. I do birth education with people. And a lot of the time I feel like a community auntie, community cousin kind of vibe. The one you
Literally.
hit up. Yeah. Like one you hit up for birth support, but one you hit up to do your tarot card reading also. But like yes, the community witchy gay cousin. That's how I can sum up the rest of who I am.
Love it.
Yeah. What
Well,
about you, Rocky?
Me?
Who are
Hmm.
you?
Oh Lord, who am I? Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. I am a Washingtonian. I grew up in the DC area. So much like Lee. Lee grew up in uh, sort of more Southern Virginia. I grew up in Northern Virginia. So similar but different.
very.
But we did both end up at the same place, New York City, and Columbia University, which
We're not speaking tour of Columbia now.
Ooh,
and that's all I have to say about that.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. So. That's some fuckery. But that's another conversation for another day, which we may or may not have. But much like Paige, I was always drawn to the arts. I had two very artistically inclined parents. My mother is an incredible artist. Uh, every discipline that she seems to want to pick up, she all of a sudden just becomes just a master at. It's kind of crazy. She's a brilliant classical guitarist. Like a few years ago, she was like, "Oh, I think I want to get back into knitting." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go like down to the craft store and take a class." A couple months later, she's teaching the class, and we have the Bayou Tapestry hanging up in the living room. So it's just it's incredible. And so, she always really um inspired a love for the arts in me and my sister, and always really encouraged us to express ourselves artistically. Sort of the family lore is one day I was a little kid and I was playing in my room with my stuffed animals and singing, and she was like, "Oh my God, you can sing!" So then all of a sudden I was in voice lessons, and my sister is a brilliant actress, and very similar story to yours, Paige. I wanted to do everything that my big sister did. So I became a theater nerd, drama nerd. My dad was a lover of the arts. Um, and so he also, had an incredible record collection and was always really into movies and cinema and theater, and a huge opera lover. So when I started working at Minnesota Opera, it was one of the most exciting things for him, and he was telling all of his
Oh.
friends. Um, and yeah, so I grew up but their day jobs. My dad, his entire career, my mom at the beginning of her career, their day jobs were in politics. And so they also instilled in us a fierce, um, a, a sense of responsibility to our community, to stand up for what's right, to stand up for equity and inclusion and accessibility before those things, decades before those things were buzzwords or in people's job titles. And so I always, they were both, at the March on Washington. My mom would go, during the Vietnam War, sit in front of the White House and play protest songs. And, as they got older, they would have fundraisers for, you know, like Stokely Carmichael was in our house, that sort of thing. Um, and so always with a sense of justice. And so I've always been very justice minded, and I've always been very interested in sort of the intersection of arts and politics and justice. And so, I mean, I took a very sort of circuitous route to get to where I am, because I just sort of, you know, I, I have a sensitive artistic heart, I suppose. And so, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up for a long time. And so, I spent most of my 20s sort of writing music and, having sort of day jobs that didn't really, have anything to do with anything. Um, playing in bands and lots of open mic nights and coffee shops and whatnot in the DC area, and hanging out with my friends, and drinking to excess, and lots of marijuana and those sorts of things. Um, but it was not until I turned 30 and I met the man who is now my husband. that I was just like, oh, well, maybe I'll grow up a little. And moved here in Minnesota to St. Paul. And really missed having the art being part of my daily practice. And so I got into arts administration, and one of those, random day jobs I had was in marketing. And so I got into arts marketing, and communications. And, when I got to Minnesota Opera, that's really sort of when I was able to sort of spread my wings and start doing some cool, fun, innovative, interesting stuff. And fortunately, I had a boss at the time who supported me doing fun, cool, interesting, innovative stuff. And eventually, part of that cool, fun, innovative stuff um, was leading the EDI work there, and then that led to me becoming the boss, sort of. And as you all mentioned, sort of really kind of taking, um, that work, in a different, more exciting, and I hope more effective, direction. And I'm told has inspired some other organizations to to do their work in a different, more effective way, which is exciting and something that I'm very, very proud of, and something that I really think just sort of honors the spirit of, my parents and my ancestors, and the way that they uh, approached their lives, and what they wanted to, uh, the world that they wanted to see. I'm hoping that in some small way, of course, right now it feels very fraught, and it feels like we are moving backwards, in a way. I've said many times on the show that, since 2020. It seems like the pendulum, has swung back hard, but now it seems like it's swung back hard enough that it's, stuck in the ceiling, and we're all trying to pull it out. Um, but I try to stay optimistic. I'm a Sagittarius. It's what we do. We are the optimists and the philosophers of the zodiac. But I also have this Aquarius moon, so uh, try not to get too too emotional about things. But I also have this Gemini rising, so I like to yap a lot. I guess me as a person, as I mentioned, Gemini rising. So I have two very separate and distinct personalities. I can be the most extroverted party animal you have ever met. I can also, just stay at home by myself, watching television for weeks on end and not talking to another person and be perfectly fine. Um,
But only that nonfiction television, right?
yes, and I, I'm not a big fiction person. Maybe that's my Aquarius moon as well. I don't know. Okay, you're giving me a look. No, but I like nonfiction. I like reality shows. I like mess. I enjoy mess very much. Um, but yeah, who I am. It's been a very difficult year. Uh, I also, produce and edit this show. So, it's very, very close to my heart. And so some of the roller coaster ride we've been on has kind of hit me hard, some of the down turns. But also, last summer, my father passed away very suddenly. And then less than 3 months later, my stepfather passed away. And so I'm still sort of working through. a lot of that and a lot of sort of the grieving around that. And especially, you know, as a cis man, having sort of the two people in your life who have been sort of the pillars, the sort of the blueprints of sort of cis maleness. It's interesting though the question is, who are you, Rocky? Because like I don't fucking know. Um, and it definitely feels like that is changing. Um, and you know, I'm curious to see who I'm going to be sort of on the other side of all of this. Um, but yeah, you know, I'm an artist, I'm an arts lover, I'm an arts advocate and an arts admin. I probably always will be. I was approached a few weeks ago about a position in a different sector, and I just found myself sitting there talking about the arts for the entire thing. And in my brain, I was like, Rocky, do you want to stay in the art? I think you do. I think you do. Um, so I probably will always stay in the arts, and hopefully will be able to stay in the arts and talk about the arts with the two of you and all of you out there in Scoreland for a very, very long time. So I don't know. Does that answer the question? Are there any other questions? I don't know what to what else to say at this point.
I feel like there were a lot of very interesting things in hearing all of us talk. Because I feel like we all, for whatever reason, definitely touched a little bit on death, right?
Mhm.
And also on the other side of it, which I think is very much about rebirth, right? And one of the things that when I had my charts done in anticipating complete tomfuckery for 2025, I was told that this was going to be a big year of completion for me and for people. And that's a little bit what I'm hearing in something that we're all saying. It does feel like there's something new and not just the show. Like there are these incredible life shifts happening, beyond having lost loved ones. We all, or some of us on the show have moved, had some cross country move, have had lots of shifts in our personal lives and some shifts in our professional lives and that kind of thing. And I am realizing now how much the show has been an anchor
Mhm.
amidst a lot of
Oh yeah.
personal shifts over the last couple of years. And that's, yeah, I guess it's like literally hitting me as I'm reflecting on some of what we've been talking about.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
you that's hitting me too. I mean, I didn't talk about the shifts that wasn't intentional, but yeah, I moved from
Mhm.
I lived in Minnesota from 2017 to 2023, lived in New Orleans from 2023 to 2024, about September to September, then moved back here to Minneapolis. And this show has been a constant, and
Mhm.
then moved from being in arts administration to doing something that's more organizing based and community organizing based with relationships evolving possibilities, org based here in the Twin Cities that works on just helping folks take care of each other without using police or without acting like cops towards each other. Is often how I put it. And still to me, that's cultural work, but it's not explicitly arts. And a lot of the time, I've actually realized that I'm grateful for this being like a an anchor where I can like keep talking about the arts and culture with two people I love and respect and whose opinions I actually want to hear about arts and culture. If we're being real. Yeah. And then within that, becoming uh initiated into an African traditional spiritual system
Mhm.
as well, and one that very much is about acknowledging both life and death is kind of one of the same, and um, that coming with a lot of changes too, with how people relate to me and growing up, and also having that be a whole, dynamic with my family of origin that has changed as well, being and also being more openly. I feel like I've always been openly queer, but apparently some people in my life hear or see what they want to
Do not
hear
get the
and see.
message.
You people see what they want to see. That's what I've
Hmm.
learned. That is what I have learned. But being really, really open with it. And for me, it's given like all like Saturn return, figuring it out energy. I can feel that I'm on the other side of the Saturn return now. And I am grateful for y'all being in some anchors through that. Like I'm not like the show, but also your friendship. Truly. Like, yeah, I mean, it matters a lot, especially as like y'all being I ain't saying much older, but older than me.
I was gonna say we went through our Saturn returns a minute ago. I'm not gonna say how many minutes, but
Well, not
I do know
everybody,
that.
a lot of queer folks don't get to have community with
Hmm.
folks who are older than them. And
Yeah.
I don't take that for granted. Like thinking about that just it makes me emotional sometimes. So I am very grateful for y'all as just friends and also possibility models of just like what it looks like to continue to, live life and be openly openly gay, openly yourself, openly in community. And because, yeah, sometimes we don't always know. People don't always get to see what it looks like in real life. So, yeah,
Well, thank
I
you.
appreciate y'all
Thank
so
you.
much. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well,
It is definitely very mutual. I mean, I may
mhm.
have you by 15 years, but you say lots and lots of things that make me pause and think, not just think, but
Absolutely.
like pause and think.
I learn from you every time we speak.
Yeah,
Aw.
yeah.
Yeah.
And always grateful for the reframe that has started to show up in my head even before you say it sometimes. So like it's like you've contributed to my hard wiring
Mhm.
shifting because there are things that now I think about the ways that their impact. I think about their impact. I think about their impact now before they're happening, because I think so much of what you've shared has just kind of broadened my perspectives around the kinds of it. It's normalized a different set of perspectives needing to be around the table, and I am definitely grateful for that, not just in professional context, but also just when I'm interacting with people to either expect it or to insert it. And I look for that in relationships with people because otherwise I feel like I'm not growing if I can't get that from people. And I definitely get it from you both. So
That was
I'm
sweet.
touched.
we're gonna have a little bit of a love fest, audience. Deal with
But also, I think much of that
it.
is what I love about the show and what I hope that we sort of impart to folks out uh in score land, all the scorekeepers. Because this is a space where yes, all of the stuff that's going on in Washington and the world and all that sort of stuff is out there and it's scary and it's things that we do touch on and talk about, but also this is a space where we really get to talk about the stuff that matters to us like on a heart level, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um our big black queer hearts. And we put it out there on display to each other and to all of you. And I just hope that, if you are looking for a space, even if you are not black or you are not queer and or, that this is a space where you can come and feel free to be yourself and be honest and have a little fun and check out something new and learn something that you didn't know about and go, you know, spread some joy and some justice throughout the world because Lord knows we need more of us
Oh,
right now,
jeez.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But we don't have a
yeah.
lot of time left. And so I was curious, one thing that we haven't done in several years is play a round of icebreakers. And I happen to have the card right
Ooh,
Oh,
here.
yay.
Should I
hmm.
just pick one and we'll do it real quick before we go to Pure Black Joy?
Yeah,
Let's
make
do
it
it.
good because we get angry when it's not a good icebreaker. That I do remember from the last time we did this.
Okay, you get angry like that. And by the way, I just want to point out you were mad about the lack of adjectives. I didn't get any adjectives. So
Wait, I was mad about what? And then you
the
didn't get what?
adjectives, the
Hmm.
adjectives,
Hmm.
the quantity of adjectives, I didn't get any
Hmm.
adjectives. So I never get
But you did get a bag of rice.
Point
So I
made.
feel like there's some balancing out somewhere.
I hate you so much. Hmm. Okay, let me find one. It has to be good. Okay. Is there any scent that instantly takes you back to a certain time in your life?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think I got one. I think I got one. Yeah. I think anytime that I smell like somebody grilling and like barbecue or something like that, which I don't smell as often living in the Twin Cities in
Hmm.
particular.
Certainly not in the winter.
Certainly not in the winter. Um, but it takes me back to summers when I was really young and staying in in Detroit with my grandmother on the west side for maybe like half of the week or something like that, a lot of the time, just to give my parents a break when me and my sister weren't in school. And sometimes we would stay with my auntie, my favorite auntie. And so it just, that smell makes me think of just like somebody with a big like smoker or something like that in an empty lot selling plates, or makes me think of like picnics on Belle Isle Park at Belle Isle Park in Detroit, which is like this river park. It's in the middle of the Detroit River. It's beautiful. It's a huge park. It makes me think of going to the giant slide there, which has gone viral. You've probably seen the giant slide on Belle Isle because it's treacherous. It's always been treacherous. It's always been dangerous. I don't know why it's going viral now. I have scars from the giant slide. The aquarium, church picnics, and you know, pastor anniversary picnic or whatever we're doing on Belle Isle, whatever reason to grill. It just takes me back to that kind of summertime out with your cousins, music playing, all of that. Yeah. How about y'all?
Well, the first thing that came to mind, and I guess I'll just go with that. Um, so I mentioned my mother is a brilliant artist. One of the arts that I know she's listening, so I love you so much. But one of the arts that she does not excel at is cooking, and I think she would admit that. My dad did most of the cooking growing up, but my parents divorced, and when I was quite young, and so my mom had primary custody of me, and so we were renting for a very, very long time, and my mom was working very, very hard to save up money to buy a house, and finally, when I was in high school, she bought a little house, that, it wasn't huge and it wasn't in like a fancy neighborhood, but it was ours. And she worked really, really hard for that. And so uh what I remember though is that in the morning she would make eggs and she would just douse them in Lowry seasoning salt. Just so much, so much Lowry's. And so I just always remember as a teenager in high school waking up in the morning and smelling the eggs and the Lowry's and thinking that it's time to wake up. I'm home, mom's there, she's in the kitchen. And as pungent as that aroma was, it was very comforting and homey sort of smell. And it sort of reminds me of, being a teenager and being in our new house and, knowing that everything was okay and everyone was together and, the dogs somewhere running around and yapping. So yeah, I think that that is a very distinctive smell that I remember. And I love you, Mom. I'm sorry.
Mine is there's a custom that happens a lot with luxury hotels where they pipe out scents. Um, so the whole hotel smells good. Makes a
Mhm.
lot of sense, right? And most of them are proprietary. So whatever blend they use will be specific to the hotel. And with some hotel chains, it will even just be specific to a given location. So I pay a lot of attention because one of my absolute passions in life is expensive hotels. Like I've had this thing my entire life. I want to live in a hotel. Actually, I kind of want to die in a hotel. Like I don't want to live in one now. I want to like retire in one. The Peninsula Hotel in Hong Kong. I lived in Hong Kong for a couple of years. We lived in a hotel, not in the peninsula. We lived in a much less expensive hotel than that, but we would visit the peninsula because they had this amazing like high tea. And it was just, cute and delicious and beautiful and delightful. And the smell of that hotel was a mixture of jasmine, amber, and agarwood. And I just thought it smelled so happy. And in the 15 years since, because it was a particularly happy moment in my life where frankly, there's some people who I was very close to who have since passed away. They were all still there. It was one of those times in my life where friends were all close, and it's a group of friends who now live in very different parts of the world. And it was just like special. It's one of those times I think back to as being blissful. And that particular mix of fragrances, that jasmine, amber, and agarwood, takes me back to that moment pretty instantly.
Isn't it amazing how something like a scent, like you don't even really think about it, the scent can sort of transport you
No,
back in
it's kind
time.
of incredible, right? There's a very strong correlation between scent and memory,
Hmm.
and I have a gigantic nose. So I have this very intensely because I frequently am smelling things, and it's just kind of nice to have those moments that like transport you back to high school or childhood or even like 3 years ago that it's I don't know I kind of live for those interludes.
Well, that was a weird little diversion.
Yeah, I mean you pulled the card,
I
but
did
yeah.
pull the card. I did pull the card.
It was a good
It
one. It
was a
was
good
a good
one. It was a good one. Just to let
one.
everyone know, even a little bit more, like a little bit of the weird side
Mhm.
of us, because we do get weird on this podcast every now and again.
Right.
I mean,
We
You should embrace it.
well,
We are
it's
family.
kind of hard, not to with a triple Aquarius on the panel. That's what.
Right. Triple Aquarius and two Sagittarians, it's gonna get weird.
It's
Mhm.
It's going to.
going to get
It's
weird.
going to get weird. So buckle up, everybody.
It's gonna be weird and sassy.
Well, this has been super duper fun. But as I mentioned way about like an hour ago, we do like to end the show on a note of pure black joy. So we will be right back with that. Hold on, we'll be right back. All right, and we are back with Pure Black Joy. This is the part of the show where we talk about the Black people, places, art, music, food, culture that is making us happy this week. I'll go first. It's really quick. So spoiler alert. Um, Next week, I think we're gonna start talking about Drag Race on a weekly basis. Throw our hats into uh the Drag Race podcast ring and sort of do a little Drag Race in retrospect every few weeks. So I think we're gonna start with season 6, which for Lee and I, that's one of our favorite seasons, and I don't think it's one that you've seen before, Paige. Am I
Nope,
correct?
I have not seen it.
Okay, so we're gonna have some fresh eyes. So please feel free to watch along with us. It's on Paramount Plus. Um, and I'm sure you can pirate it somewhere, but I didn't tell you to do that. So if you are a Drag Race newbie like Paige, or you are a scholar of the field like Lee, or you're somewhere in between like me, hope that you enjoy this little series, this little adventure that we're gonna go on. But I'm just going to sort of fast forward to what we have going on now. The Drag Race season 17 that's airing currently, and I'm a little bit behind, but I will say officially, Pure Black Joy, I am on the Anya Nerve train. And I'm on the Anya Nerve train because I went on TikTok and I was served a number of older performances of Anya where she is dancing, she's singing Broadway standards. There's one where she was doing Maybe This Time from Cabaret and was incredible. Such a talent,
Yes.
has that X factor, has that it factor. Um, Brilliant, beautiful. Even if some of the outfits I will still maintain are a little bit crunchy, it does not matter. Because the talent shines through. I would love to see her on a sitcom or even doing something dramatic or a Broadway show. She can sing, she can dance, she can act her ass off. She is funny as hell. So all my chips are now officially in for Anya Nerve. You did that. And I can't wait to see you succeed. And much like Quinta said, I cannot wait to see you on an episode of Abbott Elementary, which I may or
Jamal
may
Sims
not watch.
said she can't dance.
Jamal Sims is Jamal Sims's complaint was that she could dance during the actual performance and did a wonderful job. It took her too long, quote unquote, to pick up the steps in rehearsal. That's not a critique. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it really didn't, especially considering that the choreography is basically a step touch. Like, I didn't know what all of the to do was about on that episode. But I will say this, I concur. Anya is a find. She is great. She is watchable. I mean, she reminds me of everybody from Bob to Jinx. Like all of my
Mhm.
favorite queens, especially those girls who weren't like the big fashion girls, they were there because they were special. right?
Hmm.
Literally funny, watchable, amazing, special. And I think Anya is, for me, up there with my all-time favorites. Again, Bob and Jinx are my two favorite people who've ever been on the show, and I think she's every bit as fascinating as they are. And you, Rocky, when you see last week's episode, it's the makeover episode.
Hmm.
Um, and Anya's dad is on, and Anya's dad is every bit as amazing as Anya is.
Really? Hmm.
You see where the sense of humor came from, and I love seeing the fathers of color on the show because that is not a
Yeah.
thing that we would frequently get in the distant past. And for a lot of men of color who are queer, relationships with fathers are strained or non-existent. So it's so good.
It is true.
It
It
was
is
so good to
true.
see her dad, and Jules's dad was also there. And I just have to say that this is my pure black joy for the week because maybe I like this more than what I was actually going to talk about. Um, when he came out and saw Jules, her dad goes, "Hey, Queen." And then they run an embrace, and it was
Um,
the sweetest, sweetest thing. I think Damien and I both got a little touched
yeah.
by seeing that. And I don't know that I realized growing up how lucky I was to have the close relationship with my father, in the sense I didn't know how uncommon it was because it was all I knew. And as an adult, I am grateful every single day that my dad was as present and involved and demonstrative about his pride and happiness as he was, because seeing other people not having that in those moments also has a really strong effect on me. So grateful to
Yeah.
RuPaul for platforming, queer people and their parents in the way that we get on the show.
Yeah. That's okay. I'm gonna have to gird myself for that.
Y- You will.
Yeah, because it's just, I was also very lucky in the sense that, my dad was very present in my life and very affirming in many ways. But it wasn't until I became, an adult and, especially after I met my husband and, all that stuff that, my queerness stopped becoming as much of an issue for him. So when I do see that, and we never really got to have that conversation before he passed away.
Mm.
So to see that, I know I'm gonna cry. So, gird myself for that. So thank you for the warning. But
Absolutely.
that is very, very sweet.
Mm. I look forward to catching up with y'all. I don't know if I
Hmm.
told you, but I'm watching this season of Drag
Oh,
Race.
Oh,
okay.
yay.
I know, right? Y'all have influenced me. Been influenced. But it's also gonna become a nice like touch point for me and one of my good friends. We're gonna watch together on Fridays as often
Oh,
as we can. So
Love
we may be
that.
behind because we're busy and his friend's a parent and in school and all of that, but we're making it a communal thing and watching this season of Drag Race. So I do understand the hype that you're talking about with On Your Nerve. Yes,
yes.
I was like this one. The first, we just watched the first two episodes, maybe a little bit of the third one. So they haven't fully gotten into her brilliance yet, but I
Mm,
see it. I
mm.
see it. I see it. It's also interesting how I feel, okay, we're not going to get into a whole discussion of Drag Race. We're going to wait. We're going to wait because it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Okay. I'm going to hold it. I will hold it, but I understand how y'all get into it on here. I understand
Yes,
how and why. Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
it's a lifestyle.
but I will share my pure black joy. My pure black joy is the music that I've been listening to recently. You might be familiar with Durand Bernard.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes. I already like just really enjoy his artistry. Had for a few years now. The I just love somebody delivering a real vocal, a real performance, a actual talent. I listen to singers. I
Hmm.
rarely listen to people who cannot sing. Um, and yeah, and Duran got it.
Yes.
Yes,
Duran got it.
Yes.
The it got it.
absolutely.
So yeah, and also, supporting I think they're gender queer in some way, but identifies as fluid in some way. So gotta support. But their latest album, Bloom,
Hmm.
again, it's the post Saturn return energy for me. That is giving post Saturn return energy. Just I it's lovely. It's so lovely. I always appreciate like real R&B, of
Hmm.
course, intentional, well written, thoughtful, but also funky, but
Hmm.
also reflective, rhythm and blues, contemporary rhythm and blues. I think Duran does that so well. And like I said, it's something that you can, bop along to, but also gets really, really reflective and honest. And there's so much growth and just like emotional intelligence that's reflected in the lyrics. And I am grateful. I'm grateful. It's really a treat for me at this time in my life. From the song about watering plants to to the songs about navigating breakups, it's all beautiful. So Duran Bernard Bloom, that is my pure black joy at the moment. If you haven't listened, please do. It's a treat for your ears. Yeah.
Wonderful. I don't know if y'all remember, but long time ago, we were putting together a list of our dream guests, and I put Duran Bernard on
I
there. So,
remember that.
Duran Bernard, if you are listening, please come on the show. Because when I need a pick me up, I often will go on TikTok and find you singing Freak Like Me by Adina Howard. But also music is beautiful.
Until the
Sing, sing. Yep.
Um, well, I think that's gonna do it for us. This was a long one, y'all. We were just yapping away.
Mhm.
Because
I
we were
can't
being
wait to
vulnerable.
listen.
We were
We
being we're
were,
opening our
yeah.
hearts, opening our hearts, and you were opening your ear holes so that we
Oh
could
my
come in them.
God. For that to have been the one that stuck.
So thank you all for letting us come in your ear holes. And if you want to support us, you can leave us a review. You can give us 5 stars. You can tell your friends and definitely hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode wherever you are listening. We are hopefully, in the next month or two, gonna have all sorts of things. Patreon, so in case you do want to give us some coins. But you can find us on Venmo and those sorts of places. A website, but our social medias are the Score Pod on Instagram and Blue Sky. So check us out there. Please hit that follow button. And if you want to reach out, it's the Score Podcast 2.0 at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And if there's anything that, you want us to talk about or want us to cover or pure black joy that, you would like to submit, perhaps we will read it on the air on those infrequent times that we're not feeling particularly joyous ourselves. But yeah, I think that's it. I think I covered everything. Any words of wisdom before we go?
I think it's really important for everybody out there to get them some business so they can stay out of other people's.
Okay. That is a
Mm.
word.
Yeah.
So is a word.
That is the word.
Just
That is a
thinking about
word.
America. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
My word of wisdom fitting with that, there's lots of business to be had out there. There's a lot going on.
Mhm.
And there's all kinds of ways that people can be about some productive business that truly nourishes themselves and others. It's all needed. So whatever you do, if you can cook a meal for somebody, if you can watch somebody's kids, if you can give things to your unhoused neighbors, if you can join an organization or a mutual aid project and volunteer your time, be doing those things. Be about it and just look at what you do well or what you like to do, and see how you can give a little bit of that to others. You ain't even got to go outside yourself or do something you don't know how to do. All of our gifts are needed right now.
Yeah.
Ashe.
Go find
Yes.
some business.
Yes. What do you do well? Quickly.
Yeah. Quickly.
Quickly. And go buy yourself some rice, I guess.
That too. Head to your local
Jasmine,
Asian grocer, your African store,
arboreal,
your
wild rice. I don't care
and
what kind
get
of
the
rice,
big
just get the
bag.
rice.
Yep. The big joint.
All right, we will see you next time where we'll be covering episode 1 of season 6 of Drag Race. And until then, be easy, everybody. Bye, America.
Bye.